council-manager form of government, the city council is the governing body elected by the citizens. The council hires a city manager to serve as the chief executive of the city government. The city manager advises the council on their decisions but has no formal authority to vote on laws enacted by the council. Once laws or other decisions are made, the city manager is ultimately responsible for carrying out the council's wishes. As local legislators, council members are responsible for and responsive to the citizens who elected them. Depending on the city's charters and state laws, they may perform the following functions: review and approve the annual budget, plan for the future of the city, establish long and short-term objectives and priorities, oversee performance of city manager, oversee effectiveness of programs, establish tax rates, enter into legal contracts, borrow funds, pass ordinances and resolutions, modify the city's charter, regulate land use through zoning laws, regulate business activity through licensing and regulations, regulate public health and safety, communicate policies and programs to residents, respond to constituent needs and complaints, and lastly, represent the community to other levels of government.
Hi, my name is Matthew Johnson. I have the privilege of interviewing the candidates for the November 2020 election. I'm here with Denis Homan. I believe you prepared a statement today?
Certainly. I'm running for city council because when they appointed me for this term, I made a commitment that I would stay on the board as long as the citizens would have me. So therefore, I'm running for this open seat. I bring with me close to 20 years of local government experience. I was a township trustee in Wakeshma, which is Fulton. And then I sat on the planning commission for close to 10 years down there, and then I served 2 terms as supervisor. During that time, we put the South Kalamazoo County Fire Authority together. I sat on that board for, I think, 5 years. And so local government is not a new thing to me. City politics, however, is a little bit different. So I'm still in the learning phase, but I've learned a lot in the time that we've and again, I've got a lot of ties to the community. I grew up in Fulton, so Galesburg was just kind of another part of Fulton in some ways. My wife's family is from Galesburg. My brother's in-laws grew up here, so I'm quite familiar with what's going on, I hope. And I guess that would conclude.
In your opinions, you've been on the city council for this past cycle, but in your opinions moving forward into 2021, what are the top 3 things that you would like to address?
The top 3 things that I've seen in the short time I've been on the board, our city charter is so far outdated. It's in sad need of repair, whether that's a complete charter replacement or just to amend the current charter to bring it up to date and to bring it into compliance with where the city is at today. Our infrastructure, after meeting with Brian and Newhoff, our city engineers, I've noticed should have had work done on it 10 years ago. And it hasn't been done because it hasn't failed. Our Mill Street project, where they put the trailway through, would probably be a classic example of that because the storm sewer collapsed. So all of a sudden we have to put that infrastructure in place that we weren't budgeted for or counting on, but in the future we need to plan towards that direction and get those things going. We've got city staffing pretty well handled now. Our current city manager will be leaving us probably early to mid-November. We've made an offer to a replacement city manager. I haven't heard what the outcome of that offer was, but we hope to have a city manager in place long before Gabe is scheduled to leave. And he's put some excellent staffing in place, I believe. Our city clerk is doing a wonderful job. We have a treasurer coming on board that will also work as a compliance officer for zoning. And he comes with some excellent credentials. So those three areas probably are the biggest three that I've seen that we need to get going, and we've made some positive progress on many of them.
Do you feel that the issues that, since you've been on the board, do you feel like they've at least been brought up to the point that you would like them to be, or that they've been addressed to the point that you'd like them to be?
No. Because we don't have an infrastructure plan in place right now. We're still quite reactive to infrastructure needs. We have an excellent DPW staff in place currently. Josh is doing a wonderful job trying to keep up with what's going on. He's taken on the dig responsibilities, which directly related to the infrastructure because he has to locate all that stuff as well as keep the city looking good. And like I said, the city staffing I think is pretty well settled in place. I don't believe there's too much more there that we need to be terribly concerned with, but it's always an ongoing issue. And we just have to keep working towards the goals. The city charter we haven't touched yet. I'll be honest with you. That's going to be a daunting process. It's going to take a long time to get that in place, but hopefully we can get enough people on board to get that done within the year, I would hope. So maybe early in 2021, or at least by the end of 2021, we can see some progress towards that end.
So say that you like the staffing that's been established, however, it's always an ongoing issue. But with the other two, how will you personally help the council achieve those goals, or how would you get the council members on board to help the citizens of Galesburg?
Yeah. I worked for LD DOSA for close to 20 years here in Kalamazoo. They're a general contractor, so I was involved in a lot of this infrastructure work on the field level. So I bring that experience as well, that I can give some guidance to, okay, the engineer says this needs to be done and this needs to be done, but maybe this is the first priority and then this is second, and we can prioritize some of these projects and get them accomplished. And grants, quite honestly, are a big project. If we can get some grants in place to help with some of these projects, that would be a wonderful addition to the city.
So as we're on the topic of the future city council, and you brought up Gabe Barricker leaving, and then a new city manager position being offered, how do you feel the relationship between city council and the city manager has been nurtured, and how would you further that moving forward?
It was a new experience for, I would say, all of us, because on grassroots politics like township politics, you don't have a manager over. The supervisor in the township is the chief executive officer. So to give the authority over to a city manager is always a challenge when you've been micromanaging it from the council level. And all of a sudden you got a city manager that's going to do that for you. And sometimes some people may feel that their toes get stepped on because the city manager has taken over responsibility we've given him or her, but some of the council members may feel that that should have been their decision. And we just got to get to the point where we recognize whose responsibilities are what and see that each one's, and communication is always a big issue. I don't care what level you're on. And that's getting to be handled well. And I see it going forward. A new city manager, we've got some experience now. we can set down some guidelines for the new manager that, okay, yes, this is your area of responsibility, but we would like to see you handle it this way or this way, and set those guidelines in place before they have to make the decisions on their own.
You bring up communication, and the way you brought it up was communication between city officials. I want to touch on the communication between the city officials and the citizens of Galesburg.
Yes.
Do you feel that that has been up to where you feel is an acceptable level, or do you feel like it's moving that direction? Do you feel like we've kind of lost that sense of direction? How do you feel that the communication has been handled?
I don't see a lot of interaction between the citizens and the council. When we did have an audience, we were maybe 8 or 9 people, maybe 10 at the most. And they seemed to be the same ones over and over. And they were just there just to see what we were doing, I guess. Now that we've gone virtual, we have 1, maybe 2 people logging in. And so we don't get a lot of communication. Communication my way, I've got email that's open. I'll give it to anybody that wishes it. My phone numbers are available. I'm on Facebook if they want to post on Facebook or send me IM or video chat or whatever, that's available. And even though I'm a little bit older, I still have tried to stay up with technology to where I am at least somewhat proficient and make it work.
Do you feel that that transparency pre-COVID has been lost in a way where it's less accessible, or do you just feel that the citizens aren't as involved as you would like them to be?
I think the COVID pandemic hype has driven many people away from being involved. Maybe once we get open meetings again, people will come in and be more open with what they want to share with us. And again, if they can contact the council members directly, that would be wonderful.
How would you work with other governments outside of the city of Galesburg? I believe that a couple of the candidates that were interviewed were outside of the realm of Galesburg for city manager, so they're bringing their outside experience. But if you were to be elected again, how would you learn about other governments, and how would you bring that experience in to help the city of Galesburg?
During my term as supervisor in Wakeshma, I worked closely with many of the other townships in Kalamazoo County, as well as some of the larger municipalities. There was a pipeline problem that ran from Wakeshma clear into Kalamazoo at the old refinery. That was a hazardous materials, and oil leaked, and so I had to work with these other agencies on that pipeline because part of it was ours. And I felt during that time I established some really good working relationships, as well as with state representatives. I would see some of our state representatives downtown and just say hi, and they knew who I was. We get entered into conversation normally, and that's the kind of person I am. I like to talk.
So how do you feel, how do you keep up with the federal, state, and local issues, as it seems like there's a new thing every day that has to be addressed?
Right.
And you have your priorities. How do you keep up with the citizens' priorities?
The citizens' priority, like I said, if I had the communication, if they talk to me, I can do that. Other than that, I try to talk to people. With family in town, some of them, people talk to them and they talk to me, and then I try to get back to the original source and discuss that. But state and federal levels, I get Fred Upton's kitchen table email whenever he posts it, usually once a week. Matt Hall usually posts on Facebook anything that's coming up that he knows about. And I just try to follow any of those that have offered me those avenues of communication.
So you're proficient in technology and you're not afraid to further it. How would you use the information technology? How would you stress that to citizens moving forward if unfortunately this pandemic in some sort of way continues? You brought up how that you feel that citizen interaction has been down. You feel like that has been because there has been in-person meetings, but how would you stress that, hey, these meetings are still going on, we're trying to be as transparent as possible, we just need that interaction? How would you stress that?
Well, with the city website getting more and more information all the time, that should be one of our primary avenues of communication from City Hall to the citizens. My fear is that many of the citizens don't even know this website exists. I try to get that word out to everybody I talk to. Hey, if you have any questions that I can't answer, go to the website. The specifics are there. The ordinances are there. Everything's there. You just have to look it up. And if you need any help, I can point you in the right direction on those particular areas. And just try to continue that. And talk to as many people as you can and try to get that going.
Do you feel that the City of Galesburg, do you feel that they have been as transparent as they would like to be with their citizens pre-COVID, and going into 2021, how would you like to continue that transparency so they know exactly what is happening?
I think since I've sat on the board, we've been as transparent as possible. The meetings have always been open interaction between the council members. We've not really held back anything that isn't of a closed meeting type material. Anything that's public knowledge has been openly discussed, and that's the way it needs to be. The citizens have to know that what they hear us talking about is the way it is. It's what is happening.
All right. Lastly, is there anything else that you would like to address to your constituents?
No, I just look forward to the possibility of another 4 years on the city council, and to be able to help the citizens navigate through some of these issues and see the city grow. We've seen buildings demolished here in the last year or so that should have gone down. There may be a few more that probably should. Clean the city up, renovate things, and just renew and rebuild.
Thank you so much, Dennis.